If you're like me, the inside of your mind can look like that. It can move from one thing to another. At times it goes crazy, at times it calms down. Thoughts, impressions, inclinations, drives. And so for me, sometimes my thinking looks like this, and other times it looks like this. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can move from that chaotic place to a calm place. And we'll go over 3 ways that you can do that whenever you want to. So let's get started. Have you ever tried to quiet your mind on demand? Our minds don't seem to work that way. We can say, like, thoughts stop, and it doesn't work, and it can be very frustrating.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
However, if you attend to your thinking in a particular way, as a natural course, it can calm down. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, because we can try to resist what's going on, but that doesn't really do the job of quieting our mind. But when we become aware of what things happen when we do quiet our mind, then it's something that you can do whenever you need to. So the first thing we're going to look at is just doing an inventory of what's there. And this is similar to sort of a mindfulness practice. And what you want to do is just begin to notice in any given moment, what is happening in your thinking? What are you picturing? What sounds are you hearing? And the idea is to just notice what's there without judgment. Is your thinking very active? Are there a lot of thoughts? Are they flashing around? Or is it relatively calm? Are you hearing a lot of sound? Is there a lot of internal dialogue or a recollection of old conversations or things in the future? So just noticing, okay, I'm making a lot of pictures, or there's an active dialogue going on. And again, not trying to change anything, just noticing what's there. And one thing I'd invite you to do is, as you notice these things for a few moments, just notice if that begins to quiet your thinking down. In my experience, when I stay and become aware of what's happening there, little by little, I notice that it actually starts to quiet things down. I'm not telling the thoughts not to be there. I'm not trying to change them. I'm not changing the content. I'm just noticing, oh wow, I'm making a lot of pictures. And it's as if I'm watching it on TV or something, and I'm just noticing, oh wow, my thinking is very active in this moment. In that moment, I begin to calm down, and my thinking begins to calm down. So that's the first step, is to really just take an inventory of what's happening in terms of pictures, what's happening in terms of anything that you're hearing, and noticing whatever sensations are going on in your body. So that's step one, is taking an inventory. The second thing we're going to do is begin to deal with some of the content of what's going on in our thinking. And I call this, taking an index and offloading. So sometimes my thinking will be repetitive or will continue to go when there's something that needs attention. So it could be as little as I want to remember to go get milk, or it could be that I'm playing out a certain conversation because it hasn't come to a resolution. So what you want to do here is actually note these things down. I'd recommend writing them down or capturing them on your computer, and just make a list of everything that is going on in your thinking. And the first couple of times you do this, it might be a long list, right? There might be a lot of things that are going on in your mind. And I'm forgetting who said this quote, but the idea is that our minds are good to respond to things, but they're not meant to hold information necessarily. So we want to take anything that our brain is trying to alert us to and write it down, essentially offload it. The second thing you want to do is you want to take that list, and for any one of those things, make a note about when you're actually going to take care of it. Because you don't want to say, like, oh, I'm going to go get milk and then not do it. You want to make a commitment to yourself to when you're going to handle each of those things. And some you may have to schedule out for a while. What I notice is, once I've done that, again, my nervous system sort of calms down because it knows these things are handled. Somebody's going to take care of it. In this case, the somebody is me, but that's okay. Or you can, of course, delegate it to other people. So the third step is a little bit similar to the first, but what we're going to be doing is tuning into our body. And there are a number of ways you can do this, but instead of just noticing what's there, we're really going to be present to it for a while, kind of like when you're listening to a good piece of music, you really tune in and you enjoy it. So a good place to start is to begin to notice your breathing. Just notice how your breathing is and then actually enjoy the sensation of your breathing. Are you breathing in your chest? Are you breathing in your belly? Is your breathing quick or slow? And then begin to tune into any sensations in your body. Notice places where you're tense, places where you're calm, relaxed. And notice any sounds, sounds on the inside, sounds on the outside around you. And now that we've been tuning in for just a few moments, notice if your mind is beginning to calm down a bit. As our mind will follow our body, and our body will follow our mind. So if we're letting our thinking just kind of go wild, our body can start to get agitated. But if we calm down and tune into our body for a moment, what can begin to happen is our thoughts will calm down and we'll begin to have that experience of that decluttered mind that we'd like to be able to do. Now, in talking about these three different things, I've only been talking for a few moments. And yet I imagine you might notice that you're a bit calmer than you might have been at the beginning. And so I encourage you to take a few moments out each day and practice each of these steps, just doing that inventory of your thinking, things you're picturing and hearing, offloading things, just make a list and actually schedule those things. And then take a moment to tune into your body, right? And this can have an immediate impact, and it's also an ability that you'll improve at more and more over time. So I think you'll find that you can declutter and take a break really, really quickly. Now, I'll give you one other suggestion of a quick way of calming your mind down and sort of decluttering your thinking. And that's just recalling times and places where you have been calm. When I was in school, I used to go to this library and I loved going there because it was so peaceful. And, it had these big tables that were empty. And so I would sit with just one notebook on the table. And I noticed that whenever I went there, my thinking was very clear. And it was very calm and it was a quiet environment. But the nice thing is I can go there in my thinking now and immediately my nervous system calms down. For you, it might be a beach. It might be walking in the woods. So that's another way that you can really quickly calm down and begin to declutter your mind. Now, once you're in that calm place, then you might want to take one thing from the list and see if there's some way you could address it that perhaps you weren't able to when things were all spinning out of control. So I hope these are useful for you, and I will see you in the next talk.